series where I want to get in and commentate some of the daily games in SpyParty. The daily level ranges are from 0 to 7, and I'm going to be going starting from the bottom at level 0 all the way to level 7. The spectrum is kind of that newer players and beginners are all at like level 0, 1, 2, and 3. And then you get like more intermediate players from 4 to 5. And then the more serious and more experienced players are from like 6 and 7, mainly 7. Um, so the structure of this is going to be that I will go into the daily, explain my thoughts before I even start the match, and I also wanted to go into the analysis after it and just watch the replay and try and see if I can get some good instructive tips from it. So uh, let's start now. My goal with this is just to hopefully help some new players slash beginners take their experience to the next level and maybe try and hit that intermediate stage where, maybe if they want to play against a more experienced sniper, that they're just not automatically shooting them for something minute like pathing. So, all right, let's get into it. So we're just starting on level 0. This is of course the easiest level. And right away we have simplified high rise, any 204, 18 guests, and then 445 with just the 4 basic missions that you're mainly going to see in simplified. Um, so going over the very basics of the game right off the bat, missions, any 2 of 4 just means that out of the 4 missions that are available, the spy just has to do 2 of them. So for example, they could contact double agent and bug ambassador, and that would be mission completion. And then simplified high rise. So the simplify, what does that mean? Well, that just means that there's no action tests and there's a lot of little complexities in the standard game mode that are gone. So, for example, bug, you can't bug the ambassador while he's walking, you're walking, anything like that. You have to be right next to him and you both have to be stopped. Uh, Contacting the double agent, all it means is that you're going to be talking during the animation when you hit contact double agent. Seduce is just going to immediately seduce the target, and then it's going to calculate that percentage in the top left based on how far you are from the target. So in standard mode, you'd have like an action test you'd have to hit, and the seduce isn't instant in that. And then when you swap the statue, it instantly swaps it. So the second you hit swap statue on it, it will swap it. So before each of these games, it's always important to kind of take into account the missions and just basically how long you have and really like, make sure you understand what you're looking for right off the bat. I think it's important to go into the match what you want to look for. Um, this could definitely be a harder setup. I also want to say right out the gate that I might not snipe all of these, and that it is definitely possible that I lose some. Um, and I'm definitely saying that for the later levels. So we'll see. Contact and Seduce is probably the easiest way to win this one here, so I'm going to be watching Contact mainly, and I'm definitely going to be trying to watch for some minor etiquette things I can shoot for. But I think mainly I'm going to try, if I can, to shoot hardtails, because that's how I play in my actual games at the high level. So let's get into it. Once I hit OK, it's going to immediately start. And typically, my game plan is always just to highlight the ambassador and kind of just get a sense for where everyone's going. You also want to memorize the statues first as soon as you can. Sometimes in the standard game mode, you have to look at other things first, so it's not as easy to do that. But in the simplified mode, it pretty much is. As long as the ambassador's in motion, you have nothing to worry about. All right. So enough chit chat. This was just sort of a preliminary to every single game, so I don't have to explain this every single time. Um, let's get going here. So I am really looking out for contact and probably a swap and maybe some easy seduces. So, all right, let's see. Okay, so first of all, you want to memorize the statues, and now you can have some sort of mnemonic or memorization for that as well. Um, I like to go. So you see the bird statue. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, the bird statue's not in this one, but you see a head statue, and then I don't really know. I didn't really know what the statue was over here, so I just kind of called it the A statue. So right off the top of my head, I go AA, AHH, and then HA. So let's watch some of the statues. Typically, newer players, if they pick up the statues, they tend to etiquette break. So we'll see if they do that. Seek puts it back correctly, and it appears so does Irish. So I'm not really that suspicious of them right now. Of course, you can low light the suspected double agents and Toby, if especially if Perlin's not in the game. So yeah, now I'm just watching the ambassador, making sure no one's trying to bug him or anything.
Banana bread.
There's a banana bread, and it looked to me like the only one talking was Plain Twin. So that's who I'm most on the lookout for. I didn't bother taking lowlights because it's a little difficult to discern whether or not, because I'm just looking for mainly one mission. I think it's Plain Twin though. I think he took too long at bookcase to pick up a book, and I don't think he held the book for long enough. We'll just watch another one of his paths here. Yeah, that's not normal, and he misses a pad and bugs, so okay. So there's that shot. Like I said, the typically like easiest mission to do in the game mode is contact. The easy one to get by is seduce, but I feel like the easiest one that takes little effort is just seeing that the double agent's in the conversations, and then you can just go for it. Let's watch the replay. I think after most of these, I'm gonna watch like a couple minutes of the replay and analyze the behavior of the spy, especially from the sniper side. So I'm just gonna do interactive sniper camera, and I'm just gonna watch for some things. And if I see anything that I want to talk about afterwards, because afterwards I want to go into the practice spy tool and I want to sort of show off some things that maybe will be helpful for the newer players to learn etiquette wise to get them, into games. Because a lot of times experienced snipers, they can just shoot for these like little things that, are basically like entry level, like they're like a gate. It's like a gate, like the gate of knowledge. You need to know this to play the game. So, right. Yeah, so far we're just in AI control, so nothing exciting here. All right, let's see. Yeah, I'm not really seeing anything too far. He gets a max range flirt, so the lowest flirt that you can get is 17%, and if you can stay in the top left, that's what we got. So we're just gonna keep watching. All right, so we leave conversation. All right, let's see if they do the statue etiquette correctly. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna talk about this later. Um, just for right now, you kind of want to put down the statue when it's centered at your chest, and I will show this off later, but typically you also want to look for a blink and then do it. So
Banana bread.
yeah, so BB goes off. I was checking this first front conversation. I didn't really see anyone that's talking. What looks like Smallman was, but I just kind of missed it. And then I highlighted the one person I saw talking, because if they're talking during BB, you know that they're the ones doing it, unless they hurry up and stop talking afterwards. But yeah, we wait a pretty long time before we grab a book, which is extremely suspicious and what kind of went into my calculated shot here. Obviously, like they missed a pad and they also bugged the ambassador, so it's pretty easy to know it was them. But let's say that stuff didn't happen, um, it wouldn't have been such a simple shot. But yeah, and then a fun little swap at the end. Okay, so yeah, I think that that game just came down to watching the contact and watching what the people did after that. I think it was a pretty straightforward game. It's a little hard for the setup though, any 204, because theoretically they could just, seduce and contact. And if you ever spy in the simplified mode against like a friend, it's nice to know that. So those are the two missions I would go for, because bug and swap are just a little bit too spicy for me. But let's go to the next game here. And so this is kind of what I'd be expecting for most of these simplified games. It's known for, so the spy has to do each one of these missions, so they have to bug, context, seduce, and swap. And it doesn't look like we have too many guests, and the time is 4 minutes, so that's fine. The key to winning these is you could just watch the swap, and you could watch the statue etiquette, typically in level 0. Um, any new player might not know that this is a thing, so it's a pretty easy thing to look for. But let's just say for completion's sake that we'll kind of also be watching bug as well. Now you see that there's no need to watch for contact or seduce because there's easier missions to watch. And so that's why like these simplified wins can be a little easy once you know what to look for. But in any case, I'm gonna watch and hopefully I can find them before they do a swap. But let's get into it now. Remember the first step is just to always memorize the statues real quick. So I'll do that using my method, and then I will highlight the ambassadors as such as my playstyle. And then once I know everything's kind of safe, I'll take some lowlights. So let's go. So HHA and then ABA. So now I can kind of have the liberties to watch other things. No one's really next to the ambassador at this point in time, so I'm not really worried about anything just yet. Now I'm just watching some other things because I have the time. Whenever like things are kind of slow and there's no stress, you can kind of afford to watch other things in the party, such as like etiquette, some pathing things, if you're more advanced. So, but yeah, the easiest path to victory here is, of course, just to watch the swap. So, playing solidly, you're just going to be able to find this by doing that. Might not be the most fun way, but it is definitely the easiest to just get you a win. Okay, and I found the spy. Let's see if we'll just keep going and see what he does. It's Bling Twin, I believe, so I'll highlight him.
Banana
And
bread.
yeah, he's talking during the BB, but he doesn't even have a real. There's no yellow triangle in his conversation, which means that he cannot have the real BB. I think I'll just make this my post analysis because there's no sense in rewinding. So the reason I found him was that he missed a pad. He landed on a pad, and it looked like he missed it. So, uh, like I said, when it's kind of dead and you have other things to watch, sometimes you'll just find things like this. AI typically won't miss pads like that. Maybe there's some rare exceptions I'm missing, but I would say 99% of the time, if like there's a little micro adjustment there at a pad, it's going to be the spy. And yeah, assuming I didn't know who the spy was, I'd probably be watching Cowboy over here. I don't think he's close enough for a bug, but he is, the closest. But of course, there's no one at statues. Not really many people are even moving for that matter, so we're just gonna. If I was spying in a game here, I'd probably just continue watching Ambassador, and then keeping statues in the corner of my eye, of course. Okay. I'm assuming we're gonna go for a contact here, or a seduce. I'm assuming Rocker's the ST. And then, yeah, I'd be looking at the statue from the plane twin over here. If you're ever unsure what twin it is, you could just put your laser on them, and then they'll light up green on the bottom. On the bottom box, you can see that there's a green border around plane twin. See how there's also a green border around Blink Twin, so you can kind of tell the difference. So if you ever see them at a statue and you're not sure which one it is, you can do that. Okay. And yeah, we're just walking around here. Looks like we micro adjusted on another pad for no reason. Um, I think I'm about to go for my shot here. It looks like we added time. That's another thing to mention that in the simplified game you can watch for time ads on the window pads. But
Banana bread.
yeah, there's no use in waiting here. I think if there's going to be some time ads, I'm just going to take the shot. And then, yeah, let's see. Yeah, so we go for a swap, and eventually we just run out of time. So yeah, we eventually bug, so I'll show you the swap with that statue. So there's the swap. And then, let's see. Yep, we just go for a bug here. And then yeah, I think the number one problem, I've sniped some level 0 in the past. I think that one of the biggest problems that these newer spies have is pacing, where they kind of like seduce is like the last one. The hardtails are like the easiest missions like to do, not to get away with, but seduce is the easiest one to get away with, but it's not the easiest to do because you kind of got to follow the ST around and do a whole bunch of stuff. So, let's see. I have a notebook here. I'm writing down things to talk about afterwards. I'm just remembering to write down the inspect etiquette of game one. And then, yeah, okay. Another pretty easy game. And let's just head to the next one. Okay, so same thing as high rise. It's any 204, so the two easiest missions to do here would be contact and seduce. So the main one I'm going to be watching is contact. Obviously, I'm going to keep track of swap and bug just in case. Um, it's a pretty hard setup, I think, even for me, because I typically don't tend to watch or know that much about pathing in general. So I try to remain more solid and memory based. So definitely possible I lose here, but let's see if I can find the swap or bug if it happens. So let's go. I'm gonna mainly be watching contact again. So we got AAB and then 3A. So like I said, now we watch where the ambassador lands. We watch the people next to ambassador. And since it's any 204, I think I want to maybe try and look for some more etiquette-based things. But there is no need for that because the spy takes a bug. And so finding this bug, right? Now, obviously, I'm just going to let this play out for a little bit, but finding this bug, now how did I find this? Well, I kept in mind a clear game plan at the beginning, which was just to basically look at the main two hardtails, just so that I don't miss them, and and I know I haven't missed them yet, because sometimes the spies will just go for this, and like I said, they are the easiest to do, of course. And now that I'm noticing this, I wanted to talk about this a little point real quick. So the spy is not allowed to stop in these random, blank spaces that aren't the blue pads. And whenever you see this and you're pretty sure that it's not a pad, once you get used to the game enough, if you are pretty new, it's best to just kind of, maybe highlight them and just keep going on with your business. Because this isn't typically what spies are able to do. Now, of course, there's some extenuating circumstances. So, like, if, for example, an AI is pathing to a conversation circle and it's full, and they're still going to path there, but they're going to stop outside of it and then just go somewhere else. But of course, that's not what's happening here. There's no pad, or there's no full conversation circle around here, and it's not the standard mode. There's no briefcase, so they haven't stopped to take the briefcase. They just flat out stopped outside of a pad to bug, and of course that should be an instant red flag even before the bug. So let's just continue watching here. So yep, goes for a contact. Already nerfed out a flirt, but of course this is not a real contact.
Banana
However,
bread.
if by chance I miss this bug, I would be a little suspicious of the people talking in the conversations. So I would just try to
Banana
highlight as
bread.
many people talking as I saw. And they went for another banana bread, and another one.
Banana bread.
Uh, and that looks like it's going to be the last one. I was going to skip, but looks like there's no need to do that now. But yeah, we're just kind of talking here. I don't see much to talk. I don't see much to say. Okay. I saw something, but I think I'm gonna wait until I talk about the standard game mode to talk about that. That bookcase was also illegal, by the way. Spy wouldn't spend like 1 or 2 seconds there and then immediately put the book back. That's also a hard tell that you know it's a spy. You can see that there's a lot of missed pads that are common in level 0. So it almost seems like if you're just watching people when the ambassador and the statues are safe, you could maybe pick up a few extra shots just based off of these missed pads.
Banana bread.
All right, so we get another banana bread here. Still not with the yellow circle yet, so I don't think Rocker would be like my number one sus right here. We go back to the bookcase, and let's just zoom in on Rocker. Okay, so that's another thing. The AI will never stop reading the book at the bookcase. So if you ever see someone stop reading a book like that at a bookcase, that's illegal. You're not allowed to do that. And so we go for a swap here, and so you'd be able to zoom around and look at it, obviously, if you still miss the spy from here. And yeah, that was the game. Um, so yeah, assuming that you missed the bug and that you don't want to risk taking a random shot on a talking civilian maybe in a conversation circle, I think that, you know, the best way to expel any doubt would be to make sure you're on top of the bug in the swap. But of course, if you happen to miss the bug at the beginning, you can still watch statues. So you have the 3 on the left, and then I believe it was AAB, and they swapped to HAB, and they also put the statue down pretty quickly. I believe that they ignored the statue etiquette that I will talk about after the 8 games. So let's see if they did. So it's above her head right now, and yep, she breaks animation and immediately walks away. So that's also not allowed, and they do end up winning that game. So that's cool, but we shot them, so go us. All right, let's keep going. These are some good games here. All right, so we have a couple more missions here, so now I will talk about these missions real quickly. Of course, the original 4 remain, which are Bug, Contact, Zeus, and Swap. So those are 4 missions, but this says any 4 of 6, and we have 3 minutes and 45 minutes on the, or 3 minutes and 45 seconds on the clock. But we have 2 additional missions. We have Transfer Microfilm and Perla and the Guest List. So what are these, and how do you know that they happen? So Perla in the Guest List in the simplified game mode, there's a waiter walking around on gallery, or there's a waiter basically at a bar on certain venues. This one is going to be walking around with a tray, and it has a white rectangle in the center of the tray. And if the spy chooses to Perla in the Guest List, they're going to take it, and then the white square is going to disappear or not be there anymore, so you won't see it. Like let's say you watch them take, like you miss them take it, but you remember who was like, being offered to, and you don't see it anymore. That's the spy in the simplified game mode at least. Or if you see the fade, like if you see the rectangle fading, you'll know that that's the spy. Um, so yeah, most people like to watch for that, and it's important to watch for that, especially even at the higher levels in standard mode. And then the other one is transfer microfilm. And all that one just says is that you have to take out a book from one of the bookcases and return it to the other bookcase. So, for example, you can kind of see the green and blue books here on the little icon for gallery. So let's say I grabbed the green book, I brought it out, let's say the window pad, which is allowed, and then I brought back and I return it to blue. I put it back, and that is considered the microfilm to be done. So now, what's the game plan here? Um, Whenever you see the any 4 of 6 missions, or any 4 of something, or any 3 of something, or any X of something, you want to kind of pick out the easiest missions to watch, or the easiest missions that the spy can get by, and just kind of subtract that from the count. So, for example, let's just say as a given, for my sniper style, I'm like, okay, I know Contact and Seduce are going to be done. So that now makes it any 2 of 4, which means that the spy has to bug the ambassador, Pearl in the guest list, swap the statue or transfer the microfilm, and they have to do two of those. So they have to either swap and purloin, bug and transfer, transfer and swap, something like that. I'm also going to be looking at time ad. Now, there isn't a lot of time to do all these hardtails in a nice, like, spy-like way. So, typically on gallery, you're zoomed in. So, I will be zooming out frequently, and that's what you'll see me doing. But now that the game plan has been established, let's go into it. Obviously, highlight the ambassador, memorize the statues, BAAH. So, B to AH. And now I'm going to highlight the waiter. And I'm also going to kind of keep an eye on the books in the back. So right here, I'm mainly watching the ambassador here. Um, Red dress went right next to him, which makes me definitely a little bit uncomfortable. But that doesn't always mean it's a spy.
Banana bread.
Okay, there's a banana bread. We're taking our free lowlights, because if they're not in the conversation, we can lowlight them. But yeah, so I'm gonna still continue to watch the ambassador here, which is the lady with the purple triangle on top of her head, or otherwise known as Sari. And now that she's walking away and at a bookcase, I'm gonna kind of zoom out and watch for time ads. No one's at the statue still, so let's see. Teal does not time ad. Queen's picking up a statue, so I'm watching that right now. I'm watching the etiquette mainly to see if that she will do it correctly. And she does, of course. I don't know where Kane got the book from, so I'm just going to leave him a highlight for now. I'm not completely on top of that, unfortunately. So General could be doing something here. He could be swapping, but I'm also watching the Ambassador at the same time, and I just noticed that White Dress bugged. She also hasn't taken a book for a little bit, so we are going to shoot her. So yeah, of course it's very suspicious when anyone just goes right next to the Ambassador in the simplified game mode because they could want a bug. Um, we got lucky also that she also violated etiquette, so even if you didn't see the bug, you could have been just watching her bookcase grab, and that also would have given it away. So let's start from the beginning. It looks like they do end up completing missions just very late in the game. So let's just watch the beginning and see if I can see any quick etiquette tells that maybe could be fixed. All right, let's go into like take control. All right, let's rewind a little bit. Okay. They put down the statue correctly. They wait for AI control to put down the statue correctly, but then they don't do the little wait that AI do when leaving the pad. So if you saw that, that's a hard tell. Just an innocent watch check here, and we enter conversation.
Banana bread.
So there's a fake banana bread that lets off a few lowlights. I wouldn't advise taking something like this unless you're at least going to get the real contact. It's also worth taking it maybe even later in the game, because if you're taking it later in the game, then the sniper has to watch, more people throughout the game. So there's a little bit more of a mental load there. If you banana bread early on in the game and then like 5 or 6 people are low lit from the beginning, then you only have I think there's 18 people on this. Then you only have like what, like 13 people to watch? That's not a lot at all. So you always want to be making sure that you're watching that. There's also a little moment that White Dress got clipped on the plants outside, which I will show again. And I
Bread.
will show from the sniper camera. So she gets stuck like about right here. You can kind of see that there's a little stutter. AI won't do this. You can kind of see, oh, stuck. So AI don't do that. I probably wouldn't shoot that, but I'd watch it a little bit. All right, so let's keep watching White Dress here. We'll watch with the interactive sniper camera. there. It looked like we broke animation when leaving the conversation circle. So I'm gonna write that down for later. And I also noticed that she passed right through the center of that conversation. AI do not do that. And I will watch that more closely later on in the spy mode. So I'm gonna write that down as well. Of course, there's some exceptions to that, but it's not really that common, and there needs to be like certain circumstances, so you won't really see that as much. All right, all right. Let's head to the next game here. We have another high-rise game, and it's any three of five. So we have our usual four missions, and then we also have Purloin. So those are our five missions for the game. Any three of five, so Contact and Seduce are easy. They're not hard tells. Well, Contact is maybe a little bit of a hard tell, but we'll ignore that for now. And so I'm probably just going to end up watching the bugs, the swap, or the Purloin in this game. And if the Amba is safe and there's no one at statues, then I have time to watch other things, so maybe I'll catch some other etiquette breaks. And there's only 12 guests, so there's not too much of a load in this party. So it should be fairly quite straightforward to catch the spy in this one. So let's get into it now. So the usual game plan, I like to highlight the ambassador just so I don't lose them in the crowd. So we have BB, BAB, and BA for our statues, so I'm going to keep that in mind. And I'm also going to watch Toby here and keep track of his position just in case Perlin goes off, so I also like to highlight him for that. And yeah, so Ambassador's safe right now. The statue hasn't been swapped yet, so everything is very under control here. I'm also still watching time ads, but no one's going to Windows, so I'm not really worried about that. The main two things I'm watching right here are Toby and some maybe paths. Toby is always moving around, so you get a pretty dynamic experience when you're watching him because people can purloin in a lot of different places. Okay, the twin goes right next to Ambassador, so of course I think that's a little weird, but we're still watching the Ambassador and zoomed in on it, and we see Queen Bug. So she's the spy. I'll keep watching until I see either like a contact or another mission. We'll use this as like the analysis portion. She also just walked through the center of the conversation. AI won't do that, so that's another hard tell that she does. But let's say I didn't see that bug. I'm still probably watching Purloin here and other guests walking around. So just assuming that I missed that. However, now they have easy missions, so if I miss the bug, it's even harder to catch them. I basically would have to take at probably best a 50-50, assuming I see two people talking in one of the either combos here. Because typically, like if there's a contact and you are on top of the conversations, you see one person talking in one and you see one person talking in another, then it's down to a 50-50, of course. All right, so I'm watching the Purloin here, and I don't know if she has seduced, so we're gonna shoot her here. So yeah, just bug and Purloin. So let's see the bug again from the sniper side. We'll see it from her side and then the sniper side. And the spectation, well, yeah, okay, you can't really see it on the sniper one side here. We'll go to my angle. We'll go to a better angle where I control it. So you'll see that her arm stretches out like that. So that is a bug. And from the spy's perspective, this is how it looks. Yep. And let's see if she exits conversation correctly at the correct time, or if she leaves during an idle, and she does, so she breaks her idle animation again. And it looks like they went through the center of the conversation. Let me just double check. Yep. Okay. Yeah, can't do that. But yeah, so off of our memory of the statues at the beginning, we know that no statue has been swapped throughout the game, so that mission can't be done. Um, Now we were watching Bug all game, so assuming we missed it though, what would I be watching here? I probably would just be watching Toby, and I would still be watching the Ambassador, of course, but probably paying a lot of attention to Toby still, and maybe see who talks in the conversations. Okay, I think she just broke another etiquette rule. Yes, okay. So let's watch that from the spy side real quick so I can talk about it. So whenever someone takes a drink from Toby, they will wait at least one animation cycle before they take a sip of it. And they also don't take sips like this in quick succession. And another thing is that she is not taking the sips correctly. You want to take the sips when your character kind of stiffens and you kind of see like the whole body stiffen, especially the shoulders. That's when you want to take a sip. My assumption is that she was trying to hide the purloin, but she could have just gulped the drink, which is a hard tell, but assuming the sniper's not looking for it. And then yeah, we do a quick little cheese swap over here where we hurry up and swap it and put it down and walk away, which is a legitimate spy plan, but of course a hard tell if the sniper catches it. And so yeah, uh, let's watch this swap from the spy side or the sniper side. So if you're already sus a queen, maybe you're walking over here and looking at it, and remember that the statue over here is BA, and we see it goes to AA. So we see the sniper, or we see the spy break etiquette on that sniper, or on the statue putting it down. And so if you saw that in a game, you would know that that's the spy, in a simplified game at least. So let's go to the next game. We have the classic ballroom simplified, known for just 3:30 minutes on the clock, so that's not the most time to do stuff, so I will be watching time out a little bit, just in the back of my mind. And then 15 guests, so not a heavy load, but there's still quite a bit. So let's snipe this one. Obviously, the statues first, and then also watch Ambassador in the process while doing that. So we have HBH and then HBA. So highlight, and there's no purloin, so we could low light Toby. Watch Kane, just in case for the bug. And you see right here that I know the spy can't have missions done, so I'm not like panning over immediately to seek who's at center inspects. So even if I'm worried about the swap, I'll just know to check it afterwards. Same thing with James Bond. I'm not extremely worried about him swapping it because I know he can't be done with missions. So I'm still just watching the Amba, keeping my laser still so I can see everything going on in the party. And as you can see, it's still HBH, so no swaps going off. And there's still no time ad that's gone off. We probably get a little bit better angle on Kane here. Now, behaviorally, it's been a whole minute and he hasn't done anything, so I'm not really as suspicious of him. But as I say that, a swap goes off. And why am I not panicking to shoot him right now? It's because no contact has gone off, and you have to do all four. So I'm not worried about it. Also important to note that he has stopped outside of the conversation pads. So I have highlight the spy for you. It's Blink Twin. So I'm just going to continue watching this game as kind of my little analysis. I'll watch a little bit of it before the swap to see if I can see anything.
Banana bread.
And there's a banana bread, but he's not in a conversation with a yellow circle or with a yellow triangle. So there's no need to be worried right now. There's also no bug, and remember they need to do all four missions here. I know he hasn't bugged because I've been watching the Amber all game. And Kane goes again next to the Ambassador, so maybe I'd be a little bit suspicious of Kane right now, but I've been watching him. We've been diligent about it, so I know that he hasn't bugged. But yeah, the Ambassador right now is pretty safe, and no one's at statue, so If I didn't know who the spy was right now, I'd probably just be watching the party to see what people are doing, to see maybe if I can see anybody breaking an idle animation to lead the conversation. So time's just ticking down here. I'm just content watching this play out. There's not much, unfortunately, to comment on here, but all the AI aren't even really doing anything. If I still had no clue who it was, I would probably be watching Seek for this time for this watch check over here. I'd probably look at the time, but you can hear from the beeping in the top right that nothing's happening. And like I said, if you're confident in your abilities to watch the party from the get-go, you know that there's no contact from the spy. Well, there could be a contact, I guess. I guess if you didn't know who the spy was, maybe you'd be a little suspicious of the people talking inside the conversation, which I would probably look for. Um, yeah, so the spy just times out, and we already knew he only had swap. We knew that there's no bug, he didn't have contact, and he was idle for the last like latter half of that game. So there's no need to really watch anything. He just stood there the rest of the game. But yeah, so in a sniper game like right now, I'm not watching general or twin too hard here because I know that neither of them bugged, and I'm not worried about it yet. There's no need to watch them and swing over and potentially, maybe credit Kane for a bug when you can just know that uh, these two aren't finishing. Now, of course, even if I suspected Kane for the bug, I could just leave him with the highlight, and if he goes to statues, I'll watch him. But so here you can see that he's not inside one of the pads, and he's just shifting around. No AI is going to do that, so if you see that, it's a hard tell. And he also puts down the statue wrong, which is understandable. And he also picks it up again, which he doesn't even move, so that's also a hard tell if you saw that. And of course, I'm still going to talk about in the practice spy mode later how to do everything correctly and go over a lot of these little breaks that one of like the common errors that new spies make. But I think that game pretty much is summed up. I didn't really notice anything crazy that I wanted to see. The spy is idle for the most part, so there's not much instructive stuff to talk about other than our sniper discipline or our laser discipline towards the beginning, which was mainly our whole plan was
And the
to
end of
just make
red.
sure Kane didn't bug and also keep watch on statues. So I think there's nothing else to talk about, so I'm gonna go to the next game now. Okay, so another classic known for ballroom. Classic four missions for the known fours. I think this is one of the most common setups for like extremely newer players. So that's why I'm calling it like kind of the classic ballroom setup. It's known for ballroom is a pretty beloved venue, and bug, contact, seduce, and swap are the first four missions that you unlock in the game. Assuming that you don't just immediately swap the game mode. So I'll show you how to do that as well later. But let's keep going onto the sniping here. We have two more games left. There's only eight per level, so we're two sniper games away from being done with level 0 today. And they change on a daily basis, so the ones today aren't going to be the same tomorrow. So same thing, game plan, it should be a routine at this point. A lot of like sniping is getting over the nerves and jitters of, when you first click that OK button to start your game, and you just always have a game plan. I think that's one of the most important parts of sniping, especially the simplified mode. So let's get into it. Let's memorize the statues, watch the ambassador, and yeah, those are the two easiest ways to win. Remember, they have to do all four missions. So if we just watch those two, we'll be good. All right, let's go. So we have BAH and then ABH. And the only person next to the ambassador right now is the other twin, but they just move away. So let's see, BAH. So Rocker is the first one to take it. I'm always more suspicious of the first person to take a statue, but it doesn't mean that they're a spy, of course. But And yeah, she has a valid put away. I'm not really. There's no etiquette break that I really saw there that there was alarm bells going off for. At this point in time, I have no idea who the spy is, but that's okay. We're still watching Bug and Swap.
Banana bread.
Okay, Banana Bread goes off here. I see Disney talking. I'll just highlight him as a potential suspect here. Maybe Toon was talking. I'm not completely sure.
Banana bread.
Okay, there is another talk, and this time we can get a couple more load lights off of it. Remember, the people outside of conversation are not the spy when the Banana Bread goes off. Okay, so we know that the spy right now is
Banana
James
bread.
Bond. We get another Banana Bread. At most, I mean, obviously, I don't think he's done seduce yet, but at most, right here, the reason why I'm not freaking out trying to shoot him is because we know that Swap and Bug aren't done. We've been on top of Swap. We know that we have VAH, statue, and ABH, and they're still the same. So, and even if you forget them at the beginning, like you memorize them and then forget them, don't worry too much about trying to double check them. I'm assuming a bug's going to go off here. Nope. We don't bug, we just take a statue, and let's watch the etiquette. We'll see the etiquette break, maybe. Yep, breaks etiquette there, and we don't even swap, though. So, still no swap, so I'm not really in a hurry to shoot him. We'll just watch what he does for now. Okay, this is another instructive thing to talk about. So, notice how the waiter is offering to him. The waiter gives up, I believe, after 12 seconds, but even if he's being offered to for like about 6, 7 seconds or so, I think that I'm already extremely like suspicious that it's the spy. So you always want to make sure you're rejecting, you're taking a drink, or you're purloining within maybe like 3 to 5 seconds. Maybe a little bit of a longer wait is a little bit less suspicious on the behavioral side. Um, it's also illegal to immediately reject or take a drink. I've seen small men have some pretty low like reject times. But if you want to purloin like at the higher level with action tests, which I'll get into in the uh, later videos in the
Banana bread.
series, I think that I'll show you how that would work out. But that's a legitimate play. But when it's in the simplified game mode, you can't do that. So you're only breaking etiquette here. Okay, I was watching for a time ad, but there's no time ad. He's probably gonna go next to and bug the ambassador, but we're principled. We were principled snipers, and we're solid. And we're gonna wait until he goes for the swap or timeout. If he timeouts, I'm just gonna shoot him because I don't want to waste time. But I know that a swap didn't go off because I have memorized the statues, and you could always kind of dispel that paranoia if you're on top of everything. And so we're just gonna time out here,
Banana bread.
and there we go. Yep. And then same thing like I was saying earlier about pacing issues. We have all that game, and we don't seduce, and even the bug was at the end. So you typically want to be doing missions either throughout the game, you want to rush them at the beginning, or kind of rush them at the end. You kind of have to choose one because if you're too obvious throughout the game and consistent, it looks pretty spy-like. So yeah, that was game 7. I think that there was a lot of interesting etiquette breaks here. The most common one being looks like missed pads. I saw that one before I even saw the swap or the bug towards the later half of the game. But I think the interesting thing I want to talk about is the contact double agent mission. So at the beginning, I highlight for the contact. I just noticed that he was talking, and this is like the power of just highlighting for this stuff, because even if he's not the spy, I know he was talking, and it's potentially him, right? So even if I didn't see anybody else talking in any other conversation. I didn't highlight them. I also didn't lowlight anybody who was in conversation. So I just remained solid and I kept my highlight and I just kept watching. Sometimes all you can do is wait. There's no need to rush shots or, you know, do things in a way that you are randomly looking at things because you're panicking because you're like, oh no, I might have missed something. But, once you have statues memorized and at least a complete known four known missions and simplified, you know nothing's happening. So I think that's interesting to note. But yeah, once we highlight our see, like I was saying earlier, that knowing some of these etiquettes will save you some hassle towards the later or towards some of the games because most likely. You're gonna catch a few of them. It's gonna get you a little bit extra more shots. And a lot of the times when you catch these etiquette breaks, it makes the daily go faster. And speedrunning these dailies has been a really popular thing to do these days. So normally it's like the faster the better. Normally you want to take the shot as soon as you know it's a spy, especially in the standard mode, because the longer you let the game go on, the more you give them room to maybe sneak past another mission, or maybe they already snuck one past you. So once you're like 99% sure it's a spy, typically you want to take the shot. But I think the interesting thing about this game was that we highlight the spy, and we just kept it in the back of our minds that if it's the spy, we'll know it's the spy when we see it. It's highlight, so we don't have to pay too much attention. Like you don't want to see the first person talking in a conversation and then tunnel vision on them, which is another common mistake beginner snipers make. So yeah, we saw the contact, we saw it talk, and we saw the pad miss. And like I said, if an AI misses a pad, maybe you mistake it for something else, and maybe there's a few exceptions, but almost 99% of the time it's the spy. And we also saw some pacing issues towards the later end of the game. You can kind of see in the bar here we have one right, one yellow square down here, which means that we did a mission. And you don't really see any white squares for the rest of the game, only like right here, where they bug the ambassador. And typically, like when you want to analyze someone's pacing, you kind of look at these. Well, I like to look at these yellow squares and just see how the game overall went. Um, so yeah, I think a good game plan would have been maybe a time ad somewhere here at some point in the game, especially if after this bug, if it wasn't caught, I think I would have just went and time added and then hurry up and ran away from windows, or even earlier on in the game. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's anything else I want to talk about. You can see. Let's see. I think it should say it. Let me see. I'm trying to look at this. The waiter. Yeah. Yes. So the waiter it looked like was offering for just going off of the times here. It looks like 14 seconds. Well, probably about that. I'm sure. Like maybe that walk was at the same time. It would say like waiter gave up or something along those lines, and that's how you know that it's a hard tell because you'll never see that with another AI. For example, if we look at red dress here, takes a drink within like 2 or 3 seconds. So that's kind of what you want to be on the lookout for. So I will also take a look at that later on in the spy mode here.
And the end of red.
Okay, so our final game here, and it's going to be 3 or 4 terrace. And terrace is a very easy venue to watch statues on. You're never going to not be able to see them. And bugs should be pretty simple to watch too, just because you have a pretty nice view of everything on terrace. But so what's the game plan? So before every game, it gets faster and faster. Obviously, like you don't need to go through every single game like 2 minutes before you play it, but you can kind of think to yourself for a pretty quick game plan. So it's any 3 or 4, and subtracting out contact and seduce, and so those are the two easiest to do. We're left with they have to do either bug or swap, and both missions are kind of hard to do on this venue. So as long as we stay on top of bug and swap, we should be able to catch the spy. I do want to say that I want to be careful and look at time ads because 12 guests and 330 is pretty hard. It's a pretty hard setup for any 3 or 4 simplified terrace. So the spy's gonna have a hard time completing missions here. So let's start. Obviously, like I've been repeating throughout the entire thing, you memorize the statues, keep track of ambassador. But most of the time he's gonna be walking. They're gonna be walking at the beginning, so you don't need to worry about that too much. So let's go. Any 3 or 4 terrace. Here we go. Last one. So HB and AH. HB AH. And the only thing to watch here is Irish, who goes next to the ambassador. And like the last game, I'm not going to be paying too much attention to
And the end of red.
Salmon here. Okay, same thing. I noticed 2 people are talking during this BB. I knew that Sorry was out of conversation, and so was Salmon. And I saw two people talking, so now that Rocker is one of the people who was talking, I'm gonna keep track of Rocker. Remember that our statues are HBAH. And there we go. So we have found the spy, but I'll wait for a mission completion or a time ad to shoot them so I can continue analyzing. How do I know that that's the spy? Well, that was the statue etiquette that I've been talking about. They broke animation, just to continuously say it. Uh, okay, hold on. I'll talk about that later. What I just noticed was that she went through the middle of the conversation and went right next to the ambassador, which is always suspicious. Okay, and Rocker breaks. The spy makes another etiquette mistake here. So you can only check watch one time at the window pad. You cannot check watch twice, which she did. You could check watch and move a little distance and then check watch again. You're allowed to do that. But if you do it two times in the same, in the same like window pad weight, then it's illegal and it's a hard tell. So if I saw that, assuming I didn't see the etiquette break at statues, I would have just shot her. I'm assuming a timeout here because we're not going in for a bug or a swap here. I'm still going to play nice and solid and wait for the hardtail. You as a sniper obviously have the power to shoot whenever you want for the etiquette breaks, but I think it's always best to remain solid typically, especially in maybe some more, higher level games. I don't think that it's right to just hurry up and rush a shot. But it is also true that you want to shoot them when you know it's them, and I know it's them right here, but for the sake of the game, I'm just, watching. No one's gonna make an egregious mistake like this at a higher level. Like they're not gonna do something that obvious. It's gonna be a more subtle etiquette break that maybe they're watching the laser and they don't think it's on them, but it is. So maybe they'll do something like break animation after walking away from a conversation. But typically the sniper already has a lot to watch in that case, so you don't have to worry about it. Anyway, yeah, right now it's just simplified game mode and it's 3 or 4, so probably time ad here. Yeah, time ad. We'll wait. We'll wait for one more time ad or hardtail, whichever comes first to shoot. Typically, if you feel like there's no progress and it's getting like late in the game, like maybe say sub 1 minute. Um, okay, we're gonna shoot this because I don't know if they have flirt, and they did. So this was a good shot to make just because um, they had. I didn't know if they had flirt or not, so that would have been the bug would have been the third mission because I knew they didn't have swap, so I shot there. But anyway, so we saw the whole game. Like I was saying about time lab though, typically like if you get to like a minute like left in a simplified game mode, and or even just if it's a standard game mode, typically, if you see that, swap hasn't gone off and you're like 99% sure a bug hasn't gone off, then you can almost kind of be rest assured that they're going to try and go for some sort of thing like a timeout or they're going to rush a mission. So, if assuming I did not see this etiquette break from Rocker like, 20 30 seconds into the game, why am I already suspicious over here? Well, it's kind of late in the game, and she goes right next to the ambassador. And remember what I said, you have to be right next to them to bug in the simplified game mode. So instantly I'm suspicious of it. If I wasn't suspicious of Rocker here, I probably would maybe be looking Kane more, but I'm not because I know it's Rocker. So that was another good game. Now, of course, we kind of had a freebie because we caught the etiquette break, but I like to remain solid in a lot of my games. So I typically will still look for hardtails or just like the first sign of confirmation that I know it's them. Like, let's say I catch, or I'm maybe sure about a hardtail in the standard mode, or I'm a little bit sure about like an early leave from a conversation. If they're in for a banana bread, I may shoot them there, or I may wait until like they go to like statues or something. Because the biggest fear that you always have is that maybe they snuck something in, and so it's just always safe to take the shot when you're like, 99% sure it's them. But a lot of the times I feel like it's best just not to panic and, wait out that final mission. But of course, sometimes it does bite you, and it happens. So those were the games. Now I would like to go into the spy practice mode and demonstrate the correct way to do a lot of these etiquette breaks that I've been seeing and mentioning throughout the games here. So let's just get into it. Um, those were all 8 dailies done. We managed to shoot them all for a score of 8-0, and the games, it only counts like you have the time that you're actually sniping. It took 20 minutes, but obviously that could have been a lot faster if you were looking for etiquette tells. So let's go into the practice mode. Let's do practice spy, and we'll go to ballroom because it seems to be a pretty common game mode, or a pretty common venue for the simplified game mode. And so sometimes there's a question like, well, how do you change the game mode? Like right now, it's in standard mode. Whenever you see, like, I have a prop for a tournament that I've been playing in, but whenever you see um, the simplified, how do you get rid of that? It's just very easy. So if you want to change that, you just go to the top right up here, this blue drop-down box, and you get. And I think that you have these 6 to start out with. So you get recommended, simplified, standard, old art, experimental, and then SCL6. The rest are just random tournaments or prop files for games that I've played, or for tournaments that I've played. Um, no one really plays old art. Recommended is can be fun, but typically like those are for people with different experience levels. But I recommend just jumping into the deep end of the game and learning right off the bat. I think simplified is good maybe for the first 5 to 10 games, but once you get this, pattern recognition down of just watching swap and bug, it can kind of be a little bit boring for both sides. So I just recommend going into the standard mode. And when I say standard mode, I feel like it's kind of all encompassing. Like when I talk about standard mode, if I'm playing a tournament, that's still the standard mode. Like I just think standard mode is not literally the standard prop in the drop down menu. It just means that it's with action tests. So you're gonna have action tests in the game mode. Okay, so uh, yeah, so this blue drop down menu. I'm gonna go to simplified, and we are gonna go to um, we're gonna go. I wanted to go known for, so I think I just have to go to standard here. I think I still am gonna go standard, but I'm gonna do known, and then I'm gonna do to finish, or I'm gonna do no, yeah, known for, to finish for, and then more settings. Yeah, simplify game rules. So you have the simplified, and then so select 4 missions because I want it to be known for, and we're gonna take off the ones that really haven't been that common. Okay, and now I would like to demonstrate the etiquette things that I've been noticing. One of my favorite spies is Irish, and I think that she has a lot of easy ways to tell like what's happening. So I'm gonna go with Irish, and I'm gonna hit play. The first thing I'm gonna do is just add time for my own sake. So I'm gonna add time right here just so I have time to explain everything. Probably like about 5, 6, 7 minutes. We'll do 7 minutes. Okay, so the number one biggest etiquette break that I see from newer players is that the statue etiquette. Now, how should you inspect? So let's look. Let's first take a look at white dress, right? So what does she do? She's looking at the statue. You see her blink and then put it back down. I'm gonna hopefully watch one more guest do it. If another guest doesn't do it in the next 30 seconds, I'll just demonstrate it. But I want to show you that what the AI do, because that's ultimately who you're emulating. Okay, let's watch the queen. Okay, so it picks it up, and so notice how she inspects it. Put it down now. Yep. And notice she waits at the pad for a little bit and then walks away. And let's watch Salmon do it. So picks up, he'll, inspect it, go through his inspect cycle, and then notice he will blink and then put it down. or he'll inspect it into a second cycle. And look at red dress. That's one cycle. She can put it down now, but she'll go into a second cycle. And note that AI will never go into a third cycle, so she has to put it down like right there. Let's watch one more. We'll watch Wheels do it. There's one cycle. Put it down now if he's going to, or inspect again. And now he has to put it down. So, yep, he'll put it down right there. So, now I will do it. So, if you're the spy, you want to just click pick up statue. All right, and I will do it on the second cycle. So, I like to look at their eyes while I'm doing it. You'll see that they blink, and then you'll put it down now, and then we'll do it. So, after they blink, I'll put it down. There we go. And that was a correct putback. Now, notice in a lot of the daily games that I was shooting, a lot of the spies like to do something like this and break etiquette, which looks very jarring. I'll do it a couple times. So let's wait for it to, like, see how like jarring that looks as opposed to when it's like centered at their chest. Let's do it again. All right, so we'll watch the blink and put it down. And even if an experienced sniper is watching that and maybe thinks you put it down too fast, they're not going to watch it because this is something that's not even worth watching at the higher levels. So we'll watch Buns here. Now this character has the only is the only one in the game who could potentially go through a third cycle, I believe. So if you happen to see a third cycle and it's her, maybe it's not the spy, but I mean typically it's still not going to be anyway. All right, so yeah, we're watching Alice here. Blinked and now put it down. I want to try and get an animation where it puts it over my head so you guys can see like how jarring it looks when you put it down. So like right now, if I put it down, it instantly goes like back down. It looks very jarring. So I'll do one more correct put back, and we'll go through two cycles this time. So we'll count the cycles. All right, one cycle done, and two cycle done. There we go. And we'll also swap because why not? You'll see this in a game anyway. We'll swap. You can swap whenever. There's obviously no swap etiquette because AI can't swap. But say I'll swap it here, and we still put it down the same way. So there we go. And now, how do we path out of there? So let's say we swapped. You just want to walk to another pad. And now remember what I said during the games, that you cannot stop in white space. So for example, I can't just randomly stop here for no reason and do this like that one spy did. You're not allowed to do that. I also can't just do this. That's not allowed. It has to be some sort of thing. So let's go back to where I was. And let's say I want to walk over to a statue and go there again. So let's walk over to a statue. We'll go to the one to the left of red dress here. Oh, a little bit of bouncing. And we'll do one more correct inspect. We'll just do it after one cycle now. So wait for the blink and put it down. And then immediately calculate next game plan. And maybe I want to go into this conversation right here. Why not? Okay, so there was that one. And so now I want to talk about breaking animation while leaving the conversation circle. So let's go walk over here next to our seduction target. We'll talk as if it was a real game. So we'll talk, let the action run its course. But when do I leave conversation? So let's see. You want to leave conversation when the body kind of just tenses up. So typically they'll go through like a little idle, and you could have left it there. It's kind of hard to see. So I want Irish to do her idle, and then I want to show it because it's much easier. So let's see. You kind of noticed right there how she tensed up. So let's do it right here where I'm not like crowded by a million people. And we'll watch myself. So watch her shoulders. See her body's swaying, and then she'll tense up right about here, and then you'll walk away. even if you don't get it perfect, there's not really a big it's not a big deal. So notice right there again. So there again. So yeah, you can kind of see like she's swaying and then she'll kind of just she'll sway and then you kind of see like her shoulders rest and her body like kind of sink into it. And doing correct etiquette with the drinks here and just hitting reject in the appropriate amount of time. So now I want to leave this conversation. And let's say an experienced sniper is watching me really hard. So I left a little bit early there, but it's fine. Irish is pretty subtle. This is why I'm not really too worried about it. Let's watch somebody else. So for example, Teal. If we watch Teal over here, hopefully we can get her to leave, but okay, so she leaves, but she doesn't leave during her idle. That's another thing I wanted to say. The AI actually are allowed to leave if they're talking, but only after being interrupted. They can't just leave the conversation circle if they're not, if they're not interrupted. But you see my hands were at my sides there. I'm hoping it'll do it again so I could show you the simplicity of the idle animation. Okay, so here we go. So let's say I want to leave the conversation right now, and it does this. So I'm watching my shoulders. There we go. I tensed up, and now I'm going to walk away. Adding more time so I have more time to show. And then one other thing that I mentioned during the game, AI won't walk through the center of a conversation circle. So here's what not to do. This is not a legal path that an AI will take. If you see somebody do this, they are 100% the spy. You cannot just do this for no reason. So what's the correct way then? Well, let's say that I want to get to that spot next to Seek and Salmon in the middle there. So I'll leave correctly. I kind of missed my chance there. There you go. Now, a human player obviously will just be like, well, why can't I just walk through there? Like, it's the shortest path, clearly. But you're not allowed to do that because that breaks etiquette. So we're going to start over here. And if I wanted to go over there, we'll leave at the correct time using correct etiquette. All right. And good enough. We'll walk over around the circle. And you kind of notice that AI wrap around into the conversation. They kind of take a little circular path to the spot that they want. So we'll leave correctly now. And we'll go. And let's say I want to go next to white dress here. The AI will kind of do this and wrap around. What they would not do this. So that breaks etiquette, and that is a hard tell. But of course, there's a lot of things going on throughout the game, and maybe you're on top of stuff, so it's not like a hard tell that I would shoot for. But I would definitely watch that person maybe a bit more. So, so let's do one more. Let's go next to Queen, and just go right here. And if I want to go to next to Buns here, I'll go around. And now let's watch the eyes. So watch Disney or James Bond, whatever you want to call him. So let's see if I can watch. Let's see, white dress goes right next to teal. Let's see, sorry. Will she go into conversation? See how she wrapped around, so she went over here and did this. Now, from that same spot, a human could have been like, well, why can't I just do this? But that breaks etiquette, so. Now, red dress just redirected, and that's a little bit more advanced, and I'll talk about that maybe in the later levels. So, there's a lot of concepts that I still left to be unsaid, but at the beginner level, level 0, there's not a lot of things that are like mission critical to talk about. Typically, it's just minor pathing, like missing pads and walking through the middle of conversations. It's ignoring the waiter. It's drinking your drink too fast, stuff like that. Um, and then they also typically break inspect. Inspect etiquette is the number one etiquette break that I see. So now I'm gonna show you waiter etiquette. So watch queen. Now, okay, well, she walked away, so she's a bad example. So watch Seek. So Seek's getting offered, and he either rejects it or takes a drink, and he takes a drink. Now let's see, does he sip a drink? And he won't until one idle cycle is done. Okay, so notice he just took his one idle, so if he wanted to drink now he could, but he's not going to. And same thing with leaving a conversation when you're not interrupted. You have to take a sip of the drink when your idle animation is done. So let's watch Salmon, and let's note his idle animations. So he's in his idle right now, and he's talking, so he obviously can't take a sip of the drink now. Okay, so after you talk, you cannot immediately sip. That is breaking another etiquette break. That's another etiquette rule break. All right, so let's continue watching him. So he's not allowed to sip here. He has to wait one idle after talking. Okay, and he triple talks. So of course I can't show this off. So we'll have to wait until he's done talking, of course. Okay, so he's not allowed to talk here, or he's not allowed to drink here. So we'll watch his one idle go off, and maybe he'll drink. Yep. So you can see his whole body tensed up, and then he drinks. And you can't just drink twice in a row. So you're not allowed. Maybe there's some sort of exception out there, but you're not allowed to just sit there and start sipping your drink like crazy. So let's see if Sari does it. So she'll tense up and maybe take a drink or leave conversation. Yep. So she takes a drink when she tenses up, and now she's gonna leave because when you're in conversation alone like that, you're only allowed to be in there for one animation cycle before you leave, just like Buns did over there. So if I go in this one right here, there's no one in here, so I'm only allowed to be in this for one idle animation, and then I have to leave. So I have to leave now. These are very subtle, and now typically snipers aren't going to be watching this, but if you have any suspicion that you're being watched, it is extremely, extremely important to make sure that you're leaving right and doing things correctly. Okay, so I'm going to request a drink from Toby here, wait a couple seconds, and then take a drink, or check my watch, that's fine, whatever. There's no sniper right now, but so we're gonna take the drink, and if you're at Windows, you have to stay here for a little bit and then leave. So I'm gonna do that. So we'll do what Sorry just did in that conversation. We'll do our one idle animation. I can't drink. I have to wait until my body relaxes, which is now. So I'll take a sip, and I have to leave. And we'll go next to Kane here, doing our correct path. And now this like baseline level of knowledge is enough to get you past the majority of, good snipers. You're not just gonna get shot because you walked the wrong way, unless you're playing someone who is experienced in pathing. So I think everything's been covered. I'm just going to show you the drink thing one more time. I also wanted to say that when an AI takes a drink, they have two options. They are allowed to leave right after taking the drink, or they're allowed to stay in conversation. They have to pick one basically. And then one more important little etiquette rule. I know that this is a lot of information, but so when you sip at Windows, you have to wait like 3 seconds and then leave, or take an action. So for example, you have to. We'll try to. We'll see if Plain Twin sips his drink here. Okay, so watch. So ready? His hands reset. You can tell. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Leave. And you have to make sure that you do that at the window. So I'm going to do that as well. So take the drink. Wait for my hands to kind of reset. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, and we'll leave. And we'll join in next to Wheels over here. Or we'll watch Plain Twin drink his drink again. So ready? 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Leave. Or take an action. Any watch checks? 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Leave. Or take another action. And 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Leave. So add time one more time. And I will demonstrate how to do it again in conversation. Remember, you have to wait at least one idle animation. You're not allowed to sip right now. So if I sipped right now, that would be a break. So let's watch. All right, shoulders tense up, and I go stiff, and I take the sit, and I leave. And that is definitely what you're allowed to do. We'll go next to red dress here to show off one more case of good pathing. And I think that is a good place to stop. We'll let this time out here. I want to thank everybody for watching that made it this far to the end. There are definitely a lot of etiquette rules that I still haven't said yet that the spy still needs to know, but as far as getting past the base knowledge of the game, the sort of gate of knowledge I mentioned earlier, these etiquette things, as you saw in the daily level 0, are important to know. And I feel like a good 3 or 4 games, I feel like I found the spy just from some sort of etiquette break. And so it's very important to make sure you catch that. So I think I'm going to end it there. Um, until next time, I'm going to do level 1 next. So thank you.